2, and a 3.
Ramblin' on,
Ramblin' on, with Ramblin' Bart along the Oregon Trail.
Look at that. Got a rainbow. A morning rainbow. Beautiful morning. Feeling much more like autumn. And certainly feeling like I'm coming back home, getting into the Northwest. Smells like the Pacific Northwest. Yeah, well, heading into blues. And loving it. On we go. I had a choice of continuing to follow the Interstate 84, and that gets kind of old after a while, so I figured I would see if I could follow a National Forest trail, which is not right on the Oregon Trail. I think the Oregon Trail, although I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe it's up and over that way. But I'm pretty close to it. Going through the blues, but taking a chance. This road I just picked up on Google Map, and you never really quite know with the roads on Google Map. They can deteriorate to nothing or potentially get into private property, but the good news is I am in, at least I saw a sign for the National Forest, and right now just rounded the bend you can hear the highway, so I'm pretty close to the highway. Yeah, this is pretty amazing to me. The National Forest Road is right there, and here they have the Carcinite posts, which allow you to actually walk the trail if you wanted to through the brush, and kind of have to back up a little bit. Yeah, but you can kind of get an appreciation for the swale here through the woods. Man, that must have been tough going through the Blue Mountains. Of course, this whole trail's tough. Very few easy sections for the immigrants coming through. But I'm sure that must have been tough on the oxen, is what it was. Because a lot of the wagons just had two oxen, and man, they must have just had to try to lighten the load. I wonder if some of the immigrants carried stuff on their back, just trying to help the oxen out after a while, because you don't want to kill the darn things, because your life, your possessions depends on it. But just really enjoyed my trip here through on the Oregon Trail, through the Blue Mountains, and hope it continues on like this. It's beautiful. And trees, my God, after all that sagebrush. Back into the land of trees. Yeah, as you can see, I'm back on the interstate, and up at the Blue Mountain Summit, elevation 4,193. Might be the highest elevation that I'll experience along my journey along the Oregon Trail. I'm not sure how high the trail will go over Barlow Pass, but Barlow Pass just south of Mount Hood. I don't think it's 4,000 feet, but maybe it is. And the Oregon Trail is over that way a little bit, but I'll be coming up to it at the Emigrant Springs, which was a popular camp spot along the Oregon Trail, and I should be coming to that within, I'm guessing, 2 to 3 miles. So it's all happening. I ended up, the road I was on just ran into the interstate again, so rather than turning back, I figured I'll just get back on the interstate. And here I am, walking along the interstate. Exciting stuff on the Oregon Trail. Yeehaw. Like all the states the Oregon Trail goes through, Oregon has done a really good job of having informative posters and kiosks all along the route in significant locations along the Oregon Trail. And here we're at the Emigrant Springs, and there are some springs nearby about 3/10 of a mile west of here that still ran water even in the even when it got dry, so it was a reliable water source. So it's a popular place to camp for the immigrants coming through the blues. And they even have a memorial here, signed, dedicated by Warren G. Harding, July 3rd, 1923, and he actually was here to sign it, or to memorialize it. And they have a great, very nice setup for RVs and for camping right over there, but they charge $13, and so I'm going to keep rolling on down the road a little while, and even though it's starting to rain, so I do have to hurry up. Going to roll down the road and then find a place to put up my tent. And then camp and sleep like a baby on the Oregon Trail on October 15th. So it's now, and that's occurred to me, it's now been 4 months that I've been walking on the Oregon Trail, and so it took 4 months to get to Emigrant Springs. And I remember driving by here with Bridget, my wife, as she was driving me to Independence, Missouri, and I was thinking, man, I wonder when I'm gonna walk through the Immigrant Spring campground area. And here I am 4 months later, so that's the answer. But I gotta get it rolling, so onward hoop.
How many times can the tent blow over before I have to get out of bed? The answer, my friend, is blowing into it.
Oh boy, yeah. Having fun now. Help me, Mr. Wizard. I'm seeing the elephant. Oh boy. Okay. Don't look too bad out there. Alright, we gotta get going. After walking 1,800 miles through desert, by the time the emigrants got to the Blue Mountains, the magnificent pines were one of the first validation that the stories of magnificent forests on the west coast and verdant valleys wasn't a cruel ruse, but actually did exist. And so it was tough going through the Blue Mountains, and they were all very anxious to get over the Blues before the weather hit. And my gosh, the weather hit me last night with a vengeance at 5:30 in the morning. Thunder and lightning and gusts knocked over my tent with pelting rain. But it's now just windy, a little cool. It's cooled off a little bit, but it is October 16th, so as the seasons are turning, that all makes sense. And just moving on down to Pendleton, marveling at the magnificent ponderosa pines, which after walking all them miles through the sagebrush and the heat, it is good to be back to the Northwest, the land of where I'm from Tacoma, Washington. And as I said earlier, I do love the Northwest. And you can see why the immigrants were so relieved to see these massive pine trees. It's validation that there was indeed hope on the way on the Oregon Trail. I'm now at Dead Man's Pass in the Blue Mountains. When the immigrants came through, it was called Crawford Hill. You got the Interstate 84 right over there. They have a rest area right here with some good informational kiosks, once again talking about this location of the Oregon Trail. And from here on down, I have a little bit of uphill. I'm taking Old State Highway 30, which doesn't follow. It goes a little farther west, as well as the interstate. Both go west, whereas the Oregon Trail goes a little further east. But I'll be pretty close to it. And the good news, the great news, the fantabulous news is that it's almost all downhill. About 15 miles, I'm guessing, of downhill to Umatilla Valley. I don't know if it's Umatilla or Umatilla. I have to find that out. And then on to the town of brain fart. Pendleton. On to the town of Pendleton. Whew. Okay. Onward ho on the Oregon Trail, and about to enjoy a long downhill. Out of the blues. No! If I could sit on this thing, but I can't. Oh, I can do it. It's all downhill. Woo! Entering Pendleton before the sun goes down, barely. Covered 25 miles today and covered close to 25 miles yesterday. So that's some pretty good walking for these old bones. Their informational sign talking about the Oregon Trail going through the town of Pendleton. Whew. Alrighty, I'm hotel bound, and I'm going to dry off my tent and sleeping bag. Both of my sleeping bag got soaked this morning, and looking forward to having a big meal. Life is good. Hee-haw. Walking down through the main street in Pendleton, Oregon, and on cursory view, it's a charming town. Very nice. On a stunning day, October 17th, and I'm trying to find laundry mat, do some laundry, and then hit the road after getting all cleaned up and the shower. So I'm a new man. Yeah, and had a big breakfast. So life is good on the trail, walking through Pendleton. I'm guessing that contrail goes to Portland. And I should get to Oregon City, which is just south of Portland, and it's the western terminus of the Oregon Trail. I should get there by October 28th or 29th, which, man, it's not that far away, really. Today's the 17th. 10 days, maybe I'm wrong about that. But I'm making pretty good time lately. But just amazing that, you know, you can cross the country in, what, 6-7 hours? And here I've been walking since June 15th. But, I don't know, there's a certain part of this walking that I don't think people experience. Well, I know people don't experience very often walking across the country. And I don't know how to put it in words. I wish I could. I mean, it basically comes down to just experiencing the day in its entirety and experiencing the evening as it comes on, and then the sun goes down, stars come up, and then just to walk through all this different landscape that I've never experienced before. And this is, I mean, I've done a lot of photography in Oregon, but never this part of this area of Oregon. I've walked out of Pendleton today, got a very late start because I did my laundry, so I'm all cleaned up, all freshened up. And it's probably the last time I'm going to do laundry. Believe it or not. I know it sounds bad. But don't tell anybody, but the last time I did laundry before today was, geez, I can't even remember. That's what's crazy. It's before Mountain Home, which is way back in Idaho. Just coming into the town of Echo on the outskirts, and here is yet another grave along the Oregon Trail. And this fellow, David Kuntz, they're not sure how he did pass away, but there's quite a detailed story of his family. He was 22, and it was his dad. He came out with his dad and his brothers. Almost made it to the west coast, but didn't quite. And so I'm heading into Echo and gonna have lunch and head on the Oregon Trail. Just had a delicious Reuben sandwich at the H&P Cafe in downtown Echo. And then there's the winery right here. I was just walking by, and being that I'm an amateur wine aficionado with emphasis on the amateur, just figured why not go in and see what they have. And the lady was just nice as can be. And they started in 2004, and they've already garnered a huge amount of awards. And the wine that she let me try was absolutely delicious. And so she let me buy one bottle for wholesale, which was certainly nice of her. Now it's onward ho on the Oregon Trail. Smells wonderful. Smells luscious. This is it's a 2009 Cabernet. And I don't know if it's against the rules to drink wine out of a metal cup. But she gave me some plastic wine glasses, but I broke them. Here's to it. Here's to life on the road. Excellente. A little bit of pepper. A little chocolate. Actually, I'm making it up. It's really good. It's delicious. Can't read what it says, but Snow River Winery, based out of Echo, little town of Echo here, on the Oregon Trail. And this is the Oregon Trail across the Umatilla River, which is right over there. Across the Umatilla River, about 100 yards that way. And just have a very nice spot to camp. It's only 6:15, and it's already getting dark. And I think next week it's going to be daylight savings, so then it's going to Just means I got to get up earlier in the morning, but I got a very nice spot to camp here. Right there. And gonna cook up some dinner and enjoy it with my wine with the dinner. Yeah. Oh yeah. Life is good. I'm now about 4 miles west of the town of Echo, and 4 miles west from where the Oregon Trail crossed the Umatilla River. And this area is called Echo Meadows, and it was fairly popular camp spot because all the grass was, by early 1850s, all the grass by the Echo, town of Echo, by the river, all the grass was gone because of so many oxen and mules from other teams that had come through and eaten the grass. So the immigrants had to go further and further from the camping spots, and this is one of the areas where they'd stay until all the grass from here got eaten. And to this day, there's really quite an impressive rut or swale along the Oregon Trail here, heading west. Kind of hard to make out because it's cloaked in a layer of clouds, but off in the distance there, way beyond the wind turbines, is Mount Hood. That's a big landmark on the Oregon Trail. And I keep saying it with every landmark that I come to, but it's June 15th that I left Independence, Missouri. And here we're looking at October 21st. And there's Mount Hood. Actually, the very first view could be seen from about a quarter mile that way, just as you come out of the canyon. Coming out of the town of Cecil, it's actually an old grocery store, which is now looks like somebody's living in it, and a ranch with very friendly folks in Cecil, but it's not a town, that's for sure. And up here, you get a wind farm, very large wind farm, and man, there it is, Mount Hood off in the distance. I'm coming home. I've climbed around Mount Hood and climbed up to the top of Mount Hood and skied on Mount Hood, and to see it, I feel like I'm almost home, but still got about 150 miles to go, so I gotta get moving. Nothing left but a dry spot to show where I camped last night. Slept 10 hours, had a fantastic sleep in this kind of wild little canyon here. Heard coyotes last night echoing off the canyon walls. And I'm heading down to the Grande River. It's down that way. I'm guessing another mile? I'm actually not sure, a mile or maybe 2 miles at the most. And at the Grande I got to do a ford. Actually crossing the river at the same spot where the wagons crossed it. Didn't find out if this marker was placed by Ezra Meeker, but there's a marker here designating the location where the immigrants crossed the Grande River. And it's the location where I'll be crossing the Grande River. It's called McDonald's Ford. It's the widest and shallowest section of the Grande River, but as I'm seeing over here, it's not as although I was just talking to a steelhead fisherman and he said it was about knee deep. So I'm going to do it in two runs. I'm going to carry the backpack on my back and then come back and then push the stroller across. So here we go, Grande River, where all those wagons crossed 160 years ago, and where my little old baby jogger's going to cross here in 2012. If all goes according to plan. Beautiful river. Actually, I haven't had to. This is the first time I've had to. No, second time I've had to carry my backpack. Actually, doesn't feel that bad for the first 5 steps. Got my literature, got my maps. Here we go. They tell me if I was here 2 weeks ago that you could almost walk across and not even touch water, but there's that big storm way back when I was in the Blues. Dumped a lot of water. And so here we go. Across the mighty John Day, named after a fellow who was from the Astorians. And he came back with the Stuart. He was with the Stuart party in, I think it was 1812. And it was the Stuart party that found South Pass for the white folks. The Native Americans knew about South Pass, but the Stuart that found out about it. And but John Day himself apparently went AWOL, went nuts. And so Stuart had to leave him be. And I don't know whatever happened to him, but he had a river named after him. John Day River. I'm crossing right now. And they're right, it's knee deep. Alright, well, I'm going to turn this off because I got to cross this thing. Well, I had a successful ford, successful crossing. Took 2 runs, with the one with the backpack, one with the baby jogger. But now, I'm not sure if I'm on private property, and so I'm going to go over to this house and ask them if it's okay. See if I can get permission to cross their property, and then take their driveway out towards westward. And I don't know if they say I don't have permission, and I'll cross that ford when I get there. Onward ho on the Oregon Trail. On the west side of the John Day, that line of trees is where the John Day runs through, and where I just forded. That's forded, not farted, forded. F-O-R-D. And up here, the Bureau of Land Management has a informational kiosk. I'd kind of like to stay here because it's raining harder and harder, and they have a nice cover here. But if I do that, I won't make any mileage. And I'm hoping to actually make 27 miles today, all the way to Briggs Junction. So just gonna have to gut it out. And my feet are already wet, so it doesn't matter if they get wet, does it? Oh boy, all right. So glad to have that ford behind me. And now I just gotta keep on rolling along here on the Oregon Trail, heading west. Here is a mystery rock which may or may not have significance towards the regarding the Oregon Trail, but it does have some very old writings on it, which go back to oh gosh, it says October 1st, but it doesn't give the year. But the one year it does give is 1891, which is obviously considerably after the Oregon Trail's significance, which ended in 1869 when the Transcontinental Railroad was built. But the McDonald's Ford, which I forded on the John Day, was down that way. It's a long walk out, and you can see it's a very bleak day. And this road that I'm taking is, I haven't taken out the map because I'm wet and I just want to keep walking, but it's about 6 to 8 miles to a farm town. And then from the farm town, it's 11 miles to Briggs Junction. And man, it's just a kind of cold, rainy day. And in the big scheme of things, I've been incredibly lucky because this is the first day since starting in June 15th. Yes, I keep saying that, but In all that time, I haven't had one day where it's rained the entire day. Maybe this will let up, who knows, but just kind of miserable here, and I don't want to turn the camera around because you'll see my face is, my nose is running quite conspicuously. This is the most dangerous thing that I have to do along this Oregon Trail, is every now and then you got to walk highway sections where they really don't have a decent shoulder. So I try to run these if a truck comes and I get up to between the railing. But it's not a lot of options. To be honest, probably holding this camera in one hand is not the smartest idea. But here we go, gotta make it on this bridge. Hoo-wee. All right, live to run another bridge. Heading down to Biggs Junction. Well, I just walked into Biggs Junction, which is essentially a truck stop and rest stop for travelers along Interstate 84, but when the immigrants came through 160 some odd years ago, this was a momentous location for them because it was the first time that they actually stood on the knoll and witnessed the Great Columbia River, which they'd heard about from stories from Lewis and Clark expedition, which was 50 years earlier. And from here, many of them chose to make rafts, build rafts from logs a little further down at the town of Dallas, which I'll be going to tomorrow, and they built rafts and actually floated their wagon down to Portland, but it was a risky venture. And many of them chose to go over Barlow Pass, which goes just to the south of Mount Hood, and that's the route I'll be taking. But today is my 128th day on the Oregon Trail, and I can appreciate the magnitude of the feeling that the people must have had when they, after walking all those hot, dry miles along the Great American Desert, seemingly endless, and here they arrive at the Columbia River, which I still have 120 miles to go, but it certainly feels like I'm getting to the western edge of the Oregon Trail. Well, you can only walk roughly a quarter mile up this old section of the Oregon Trail before you come to this gate. And I'm not sure if this is private property, but I'm not going to go any further. So if there's people that are considering driving up here, I'd recommend against it because, oh yeah, the gate's locked, so can't go any further. But you wouldn't want to drive up here and then have to turn around. It'd be quite the challenge. A bit of a steep walk up here, but once you get up here, it's still kind of noisy with the trains and the traffic, and every now and then some big barges going by, so you can really appreciate what an important route this is for our commerce of this great country. But back when the immigrants came through, this was a very popular area for the Native Americans for salmon fishing, and it's hard to appreciate what the river would have looked like before it was all dammed up. This is a dammed up section of the Columbia River, and the immigrants talked or they wrote down in their journals oftentimes, talking about the Native Americans along the Columbia River, and essentially described them as very good-natured and enjoyed trading their fish with the immigrants for the clothings that some of the immigrants could trade away. And so if you're going to be driving the Oregon Trail, which I would highly recommend as a great way to go back in time of America's history, and if you're on the Columbia River, check out this little section of the Oregon Trail. You get a great view of the Columbia River, and if you're lucky like I am to have a beautiful day like today, it's absolutely delightful. And I hope you can hear me over this train. Here's the Columbia River. You can see it dammed right over there. And it flows down past the historic city of the Dalles, and I walked into the Dalles the night before last, just as the sun was heading down, so I barely made it off the interstate, thank goodness. And then yesterday I took an entire day off and rested. First day I think I've taken off since Montclair in Idaho. So I took the day off in the Dalles, so I'm all rested and fattened up and ready to go. And now I'm walking out what's called the Old Durford Road, and it's going to be heading to Barlow Road. And the immigrants up until 1846 built rafts or rented rafts usually in the Dalles area, and then floated on down to Fort Vancouver and present-day Portland area, where they officially finished the Oregon Trail. But all that meant was now they had to find a place to live real quickly for the wintertime. But up until 1846 they rafted down. So if I was to have walked this trail, well, I should say this is the last section of the wagon route of the Oregon Trail. It ends at the Dalles until 1846, when a fella named Sam Barlow, that old crusty old fella, he was upset that they were gouging. He thought they were gouging, the rafters were gouging the immigrants and charging too much to raft the immigrants down to Portland. And oftentimes the immigrants had to wait for several weeks because there's such a backlog there were not enough rafts for all the wagons and everything, and it wasn't an easy task, and several of them made it all the way to here only to drown between the Dalles and Portland, because back then, as I was stating earlier, there were no dams obviously, and it was a much more rugged river. I've been looking at the weather, and it's going to be there's potential it's going to be pretty miserable for a couple of days. Here today is fabulous. I'm now 15 miles out of the Dalles, south of the Dalles. And there's the sign, Barlow Road Route. Here we go. Oregon Trail. Heading into a little village of, I called it Durfur. I think it's Durfur. I'm probably butchering half the things I say. In fact, I know that for a fact that I drive Oregonians nuts when I say Oregon. You can't stand that. I don't do it on purpose. I mean, it's spelled Oregon, right? But it's Oregon. Oregon. What's that? No, I'm actually working right now, but thanks. See, that's what I get. That's disrespect. I don't know if I wanted an application to work. But actually I wouldn't mind that. Or could use a little money on the side. But this, I don't know, this is kind of a job, if I can pull it off. Walking, photographing all of America's national trails and selling prints. Alright, well, here we are coming into Dufour, and hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. And I apologize to all the Oregonians for saying Oregon all the time. I'll try to nip that in the bud. Oregon. The Oregon Trail. Off there in the distance, you can barely make out Mount Jefferson, one of the great volcanoes along the Cascade Mountain Range. And the mountain that is the tallest mountain in the state of Oregon is Mount Hood, and it is right over there. So I'm getting closer to the Cascades. I just walked quite a long ascent out of the what's called Ty Valley. It's spelled T-Y-G-H, named after the Native Americans there, and it's a very nice little town in there. You could call it a village. And the Molly B Cafe serves a very delicious Reuben sandwich. Listen, what a disaster. See a lot of litter along the roadsides, my friends. Hate to say, but it's true. So I'm going to get, tomorrow I'll actually get into the Cascades and start my ascent up Barlow Pass. And then the next day get to Government Camp. And from there on, which would be about another 50 miles beyond that, it's all downhill to the Oregon City, which is just south of the Portland. So it's happening. It's all happening. I've got really lucky today, obviously. You can see the sun's out. It was supposed to rain all day is what the weather forecast was calling for. So maybe the big guy's looking out for me. Who knows? But I'll take it. I will certainly take it. But I kind of doubt tomorrow's going to be the same. The closer I get to the pass, the more chance of precip I'm going to have. In fact, they said they got 2 inches of snow up there today, but it's like a rain-snow mix, so it melts pretty quick. But that's kind of miserable to walk in. Very miserable to walk in. I just got to be grateful that today turned into such a nice day. And my gosh, there's Mount Hood just right over there. It is October 27th, about 9:20 in the morning. And just now, according to the sign, am I entering the gateway to the Barlow Trail. Entering the little town of Wamick. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. And my sunny weather has deteriorated to a slight drizzle, and my guess is that the closer I get to the Cascades, the heavier the rain's going to become. So here I go, right into the rain, but first I'm going to have myself a coffee at the, according to the sign, there's a little market here, so I'm hoping they have coffee and maybe even a donut. Get ready for the rains of the Cascades as I head over the Barlow Pass. Onward ho on the Oregon Trail. They certainly have plenty of signs guiding me the way through the Barlow Trail. Here's another sign. And I still am just entering the little town of Wamick. Beautiful little town from the first peruse. It's very nice and quaint in the fall colors here in eastern Oregon. And by tomorrow I'll be heading into western Oregon with the moss and the rain and the cedars. Just a very nice little town here. Getting ever closer to the Cascade Mountains here on Barlow Road. This road we'll eventually run into the exact Barlow Road. I think the original Barlow Road is a little bit to the north, but not too far. And it's been drizzling here and there, so I got to cover up the backpack. And one of the, I don't know, I almost just soon everything get wet rather than see everybody like so worried when they see the backpack. So I've thought up a good story to go along with it. And I was going to say that run a funeral home. It's not really a home, more of a shack up in the hills there. But it is licensed. I got a license back in 2003. And I got the license on the wall. You can come look at it. Very reasonable prices. And my funeral vehicle is a 1967 Ford station wagon. Oh shucks, my memory card ran out of memory on my Nikon camera, so using my emergency camera, which is my iPhone. And right now I am indeed on the Barlow Trail, passing through some very impressive forest in the lower reaches of the Cascade Mountains. And I lost the road once. It's not marked as well as I thought it might be, at least in this region. But I'm back on it, and passing a lot of elk hunters. And they can set me straight as long as they don't shoot me by mistake. But it has been raining pretty heavily for a while, but now it's stopped. So just carrying on the Oregon Trail through the Barlow Road path section, heading into the Cascades. Along the Barlow Road, heading into the Cascades on a rainy day. I've seen quite a few elk hunters, and this is a situation that I don't know if I've ever come across before, but I saw the smoke and I figured there'd be some people here, and I could make sure that I'm still on the Barlow Road, which I do believe I am. But man, come across unattended campfires, kind of a dangerous thing, especially after this year, which has been the driest year on record in Oregon. So I'm sure it was probably pouring when they left, and it's easy to think the fire's going to go out, but it surely hasn't yet. And it's supposed to rain all night, but it's like I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do. I guess I could try to put it out. I'll do my best. Break it up a little bit anyways. And then keep a-walking on the Barlow Trail, heading west on the Oregon Trail. Well, I can honestly say I'm very glad to be in my tent. It's just an absolutely drenching day. But I made it to the Cascades. Got everything. Then just putting up the tent's a challenge in the rain. Now the rain stopped, and it did stop briefly for me, so I was lucky in that regard. But just a drencher. I mean, my gosh, I had to wring out my underwear. And I bought this polypropylene in the Dalles thinking that maybe, well, I knew that I was going to be walking into rain because saw the weather forecast, and so I thought it'd be a good idea to have an extra polyprop, and I'm glad I did, because the one that I was wearing got thoroughly soaked. In fact, I was so soaked, I got so soaked that, look at this. Check this out. These are my Scooby-Doos. And I've already wrung them out once. But there it is. Oh, you missed. I missed it. Not very impressive. Yeah, my Scooby-Doos. I'm thoroughly drenched. You know you're soaked when your underwear is soaked. But I got some mac and cheese coming up. And ho ho ho. Got myself some, got a Merlot. Yeah, I was thinking I wanted a 2010, so I went for the 2010. set her home. And I got lots of extra food. I might have some spicy, hot and spicy noodles. Jan Bosch, the fellow from the Netherlands, who's now about 100 miles behind me because he's carrying his backpack, he turned me onto these. He loves these, and he's right, they are pretty darn good. Takes up about a lot of room in the pack is the only problem, but I'm going to have my mac and cheese, and I got some cheese and crackers as well, so for the time being, life is good. And tomorrow's going to be a major hassle because everything's going to be soaked. Oh, and my sleeping bag got soaked. Yes! Which is really disappointing because Ernie Smith, my scoutmaster, told us time and time again to put your sleeping bag in a plastic bag if you know it's going to rain. And Ernie, if you're still around, man, I messed up on that one, but and it's down, so I just gotta hope that, well, it's not soaked. It'll work. I'll survive. I'm a survivor. I got some wine. Alright. Onward, into the mighty Cascades on the Oregon Trail. Jesus, shut up. I guess I'm on. It's hard to even control the iPhone camera because it's so wet. The Northwest is giving me a big howdy do, a big welcome home. I know that they're thinking that I missed this rain and mist and drizzle and drips and drabs. But that's what makes the forests. That's what makes the amazing garden of the West Coast that attracted all the immigrants all those years ago. And I've walked the Barlow Trail for a little ways, got back on the road because number one, the Barlow Trail is kind of fading out on me and I don't have a very good map. So my plan is to get to a government camp and get one of the motels. I know, that's cheating. That's being a cheater. I should camp out just like the immigrants did. But when you think about it, if the immigrants were alive today, they would most certainly stay at a motel. And beyond that, they would probably be driving one of those luxury Winnebagos that pass me every now and then with names like Endeavor and Pioneer. And then they'd be in the nice comfort of their RV rather than foolishly walking along through this rain and mist, trying to pay homage to the historical significance of this trail, which represents the manifest destiny of this country and also represented the end of a way of life for many Native American civilizations. And so walk it I will, but I am going to get a motel. Because I can honestly say I am as wet as a wet sewer rat. Yes, I'm going to say that. Because once again, even my underwear is wet. And when your underwear's soaked, you know you're soaked. So I know I'm soaked. But I think I have about 12 miles to go yet. No, I just got to keep walking. That's all there is to it. Coming up pretty close to the actual pass of Barlow Pass. Looking forward to that. And my gosh, just the immensity of these forests is amazing after walking all those miles through America's Great Desert. And now we're entering the Great Rainforest. of the, actually not the rainforest, but the Great Garden of the West Coast. Onward ho on the Oregon Trail. Let's see, I can't even turn the camera off. Oh, we got troubles now. It's not responding. Not responding. I'll try this out. Another windy, blustery day on the trail. So it's nice to be in here. But it's all temporary. Got in last night, and the room that they gave me the key for, which was the cheapest room they had here in the Best Western, the key didn't work. So the lady up front said, well, okay, I'll give you the this room. So I got a room with a master jacuzzi. Hey, life doesn't get better than that, does it? So I was able to warm up after I was soaked and dried everything out. But today it's supposed to get an inch of rain starting later in the day. So if I get ready going now, I can maybe get a couple miles before it starts raining heavily. But we're just in a major wet pattern. So heading towards Oregon City. And this is the most expensive motel I've gotten along my entire route of the Oregon Trail. Man, I keep saying Oregon, and it drives the Oregonians nuts. The thing is, I mean, people say Washington or Washington. It doesn't bother me. If I say Oregon, it just sets people off. I don't know why I can't say Oregon. So anyhow. On the Oregon Trail, here's one of the informational signs along the Laurel Hill section of the Barlow Road. And to be honest, if they're implying this is where the wagons came down, it's hard to imagine. It is exceedingly steep. But that seems to be what they say. And then later on, the route was rerouted further north, and I guess that was a better route because it's pretty hard to imagine the wagons coming down that steep route right there. This is the old highway, the old Oregon, the old Mountain Hood Highway, Oregon Mountain Hood Highway. And I'm walking Highway 26 down to Oregon City. Just kind of stumbled upon this trail that parallels the State Highway 26. And yeah, the traffic's right next to me, but it's really quite pretty in here. Starting to get almost rainforest-like. Beautiful. Heading west, close to the town of Zigzag, just across the Zigzag River, so I'm assuming I'm getting close to the town of Zigzag. And I haven't seen any signs designating what the name of this trail is, but looks like it's well used. And quite a delight to just saunter down this trail along the Barlow Route section of the Oregon Trail. I'm now roughly 12 miles from Barlow Pass on the west side of the Cascades, and you can see just what a dramatic change of topography we have here, and of the forest, which would have been completely foreign to so many of the immigrants who would have come from Missouri and the East Coast. And here they would have all heard about the amazing forests of the West Coast. And they walked all those thousands of miles over the great American desert. And to finally get here must have just been quite a thrill for them, and quite a, they must have almost been bewildered when they came here. And yet once they got to Oregon City, which I'll get to tomorrow, then they had to find some land that they could call their own and immediately start putting up a cabin for the winter. So I don't have to worry about that, but you can appreciate what the must have gone in the minds of the immigrants as they were coming through here 160 years ago, roughly. So indeed, this trail that I stumbled upon follows what the sign describes as the corridor of the Barlow Road. And what I didn't realize is it states that it went from 1846 to 1919. I mean, that late into the early 19th or early 20th century is pretty surprising. And yes, it's right by the highway here, but it's a very pleasant walk through beautiful forest and with heavy moss, and definitely back in the northwest on the Barlow Road corridor. An important piece of information that I should have mentioned was that Sam Barlow, when he cut the Barlow route south of Mount Hood, he did so with the idea of making it into a toll road, and he was successful at doing so, but consequently he was also successful at becoming one of the most despised people in the Northwest, because he charged what a lot of wagoners thought was an exorbitant rate. And it was ironic because he put the toll road in, he put the Barlow Road route through originally because he was upset at the rates that the rafters were paying to raft the wagons down the Columbia River from the Dalles. And here is the westernmost gate, and it's a replica, but it is in the original location of the original gate, which operated all the way up until into the 1900s, which is remarkable to me. In fact, the first car went through here in 1903. And what is really cool is the maple tree there. And what's left, you can see there was a trunk of the maple tree, and now offshoots are coming up. But the maple trees here are believed to have been planted by Philip Foster, who operated the toll road from 1883 to 1902, and now these trees are part of what's called the Heritage Tree program. It is recognized as a heritage tree, and it's been here now for roughly 120 years, which is pretty cool. And so now, past the toll gate, sorry about those fast pans, it's no fun, and heading west to Oregon City. I'll be honest, I feel kind of like an idiot walking along the side of the road here. Just got somewhere around 30 miles yet to go to complete the Oregon Trail in Oregon City. Walking along State Highway 26 on yet another rainy day in the Northwest. Kind of dangerous, I'll be honest. Gotta be very careful of the traffic. And part of me wonders why I'm even doing this, but because somebody somewhere said the official end of the Oregon Trail is in Oregon City, I will adhere to that person's authority on the end of the Oregon Trail. And I don't know, feel kind of like I say, a little silly, 53-year-old man pushing a baby stroller, pushing something, God knows what. Yeah, that's right. Bart's funeral home. Yes. Reasonable rates. There's not a lot of dignity involved, but reasonable rates. It is the day before Halloween, so people might figure I'm doing something related to that, or I'm just a poor, pathetic man. But, oh my gosh. Just keep walking and looking forward to getting home, I can tell you that. On the Oregon Trail on October 30th. Oh, I feel like I'm so close yet so far. In reality, I'm about 15 miles, maybe 17 miles from the Oregon Trail Center, but I can't walk this road. These cars they're coming down that hill and they just come screaming by. There's no room on the shoulder. And I tried to walk down the side there and it just gets impassable. And I tried to see if there's some way to take some side roads around, but there's nothing short of going way around. So I guess this is one of those situations where the baby jogger can be a challenge, but even if I had a backpack on, this would still be, there's just, I mean, like 6 inches and then the guardrail. So I don't know. Camped in some woods because it got dark on me, and now I'm walking about 4 miles out of the way, but even these roads that I'm taking are just, these roads are not designed for pedestrians. Certainly pedestrian pushing his silly baby jogger. So it's, I'll be honest, very frustrating for me. I'm basically done. I can just say I'm done. I don't know why I have to walk to the Oregon Trail Center and kill myself in the process just trying to walk these last 20 miles. It's kind of like in the old days when the immigrants killed themselves floating down the Columbia on the last 20 miles. Nowadays it's traffic. I don't know. I shouldn't do these videos because I'm in a horrible mood when I shouldn't be. I'm finishing up the Oregon Trail. But people just don't expect to see somebody walking along these roads, and there's no, little to no shoulder. So, okay, keep walking for the time being. Countdown begins. 14 miles to Oregon City. And I'm finally on a road with a good shoulder. And that is very good news. But it is raining quite, well, I guess it's not hard. It's a hard drizzle. It's drizzling hard. How's it? But pretty wet. I just got 14 miles to go to the end of the epic 2012 Oregon Trail Adventure. And I'll be ending on Halloween Day, which is kind of amazing because that's what I've been pretty much predicting this whole time since I started. I thought I'd be around Halloween, and here it is, October 31st. All right. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a sign for the Barlow Road route in a long while, but there it is. Of course, it says dead end right over there. I don't even really know how I got here. But I came down this road after going through Oregon City on Halloween Day, looking like I'm part of the festivities. And this is it. I'm coming to the end of my epic journey on the Oregon Trail. Started June 15th and walked through 2 months of blazing heat through Kansas and Nebraska and Wyoming. And then the long dry stretch of the Snake River along the Idaho. And then the long dry stretch. I actually did get a rainy day in north central Oregon, but very remote country. And here I'm coming up to the end of the Trail Interpretive Center in Oregon City, just south of Portland. And it was this general area where the immigrants would say goodbye to each other, the ones who had traveled amongst themselves on their wagon trains and relied on each other for survival. And then very quickly they had to find a place piece of land they could call their own, unless they had some family here already that did that for them. And very quickly build a homestead. Whereas I get to wait for my wife, who's going to pick me up and go home and take a shower. But my gosh, what an epic journey it's been. And I suppose I could have done it, but I'm tempted to say I couldn't have done it without the guidebooks written by Gregory Francois. Hopefully I've been pronouncing his name this whole time properly, but I can't say enough about this guidebook. Gregory Francois from Patrice Press, and then the all-important maps that go accompany it. And I was just able to follow the trail very closely to the original route of the trail, and learn a lot of the history from that guidebook. And then I also want to thank the Oregon Trail California Trail Association, which has spent so much of their effort through the years of preserving the vestiges of the Oregon Trail, and then the Bureau of Land Management, who has done so much to protect the Oregon Trail and help build and maintain a number of these interpretive centers. And I'm just arriving at this one, and you can just see how impressive they are. There's one at the beginning of the trail, and at Casper, Wyoming, and then Baker City, and of course the National Monument at Scotts Bluff. So it's been a remarkable journey, indeed, and feel very fortunate to, well, I don't know what the word is fortunate, just been an amazing experience walking the footsteps of all those hundreds of thousands of immigrants that walked the trail some 160 years ago roughly, and all the hopes and dreams that they carried to this new land. And my gosh, you can see with all the traffic and everything, I think they were successful. The West Coast is a populated place, and many of the people on the West Coast have heritage ancestry that goes back to the Oregon Trail even to this day. So it's been an amazing experience, and till the next trail, just say so long, and hope to do the California Trail next summer, and we'll see how that goes. Until then, so long.